Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. Hopefully you're having a great day. A quick shout out to my newest patrons, Sager, Todd, Justin, Tom, and James. Cannot thank you guys enough for the generosity. Not Patreon related, just a quick FYI. I know as the weather changes, some people experience depression, and combine that with everything going on in the world and the headlines, it's pretty easy to get down, get depressed. So I just want to say real quick, if you guys ever want to talk, just shoot me an email or, DM me on Twitter. I will try to be better about getting back to those DMs, but honestly, I am much more of a listener than a talker most of the time. So I would love to hear from you guys. We can talk about light stuff, Tesla stuff, or we can talk about more serious stuff. But genuinely, I hope all of you guys are staying well, maintaining perspective, and just so you know, if you ever need somebody, I'm around. And a quick shout out to my guy Brian over at My Tesla Weekend. If you don't know, he has been the most accurate out there, better than Rob, better than anybody else when it comes to predicting Tesla's production and delivery numbers over the past few quarters. He's developing quite the track record, so if you're not following him, go give him some love. Check out this video, I've linked it below. Subscribe to his channel. He does do very good work, and honestly, he's really funny. He makes me chuckle more often than most other Tesla YouTubers because he's fun and lighthearted, unlike Rob and I, who can tend to be more serious by nature. So it might be a nice change of pace, but his stuff is linked below. Go check him out, support him. And it would mean a lot to me because I don't see other Tesla channels as competition. I love to see other people winning, succeeding, getting to do something that they enjoy, that we all enjoy, talking and learning more about Tesla. And even if these other Tesla channels take away from my views, honestly, it is all good, as I love to see other people winning. So go check out Brian, I would appreciate it, and he does great work. Next up from yesterday's video, thank you RJ for this comment. So we were talking about the swivel screens for the Model 3 and Y, as you can see, but rather than buying a random one from Amazon from some Chinese company, check out Matt over at Tech Forum. He is building these basically by himself with a small team here in the United States. It is called the Atlas. I have linked his store below. As you can see, there are his options. So if you're thinking about doing the swivel screen, which goes sideways and up and down, I definitely will do this to mine. Be sure that it doesn't void the warranty. I don't think that it does, but I would call to make sure and double check first. But go check out Matt at Tech Forum, linked below. Next up, Rivian did release their S1 filing for their upcoming IPO. The only thing I really want to point out is that they told us that, as you can see, as of September 30th, they had approximately 48,390 R1T and R1S pre-orders in the US and Canada, with each requiring a fully refundable deposit of $1,000. And they also have that order of 100,000 commercial vans for Amazon that they expect to build by 2025. And their normal factory in Illinois currently has an estimated production capacity of 150,000 units annually. They began commercial production of the R1T September of this year and expect to start commercial production of the R1S and the EDV, or the electric delivery vans, for Amazon in December of 2021. Next up, this is a pretty awesome story that really does verify and prove that Tesla is just on a different level, especially when it comes to attracting top talent and putting in the upfront work to be different and plan for the future. So what am I talking about? Tekion, the automotive retail platform headed by a former Tesla CIO, Jay Vijayan. I did actually do a deep dive on Jay's role at Tesla on the channel. I will link it above in case you want to check that out. But he has since left Tesla. He started his own company, Tekion, and it is basically blowing up, which should come as no surprise. So what he did for Tesla was he built a custom enterprise resource planning software. Think of it like the central nervous system, or the heartbeat of how Tesla operates. So it integrates everything the company does into one streamlined software basically, and allows for much more company-wide efficiency. So what Jay is doing is taking that cloud-based infrastructure idea and bringing it to the legacy automotive space, where he's trying to bring these dinosaurs and their outdated systems into the 21st century with technology and cloud-based infrastructure for enterprise resource planning. Like I said, if you want to nerd out and learn more of the details, check out that deep dive. But for now, just know that Tekion's revenue has grown threefold over the past year, and the number of states where dealers are using Tekion software has grown to 39 from 28, and they are now moving into Canada and will ultimately become an international outfit. The company's valuation just 1 year ago was $1 billion. Fast forward to today and their latest round of funding, and we are looking at a $3.5 billion valuation for Jay's company. So you may be wondering, well, okay, Dylan, but what does this have to do with Tesla? So Jay built a custom system like this for Tesla, while most of the other automakers and many other companies would just go get an off-the-shelf product from, SAP or Oracle. But it is these type of systems that in the long run will help with efficiency and supply chain, logistics, all of those things helping to make a company more efficient, that clearly the success of Tekion is proving that the rest of the automotive space is flocking to this technology because they know that they need it. And guess what? Tesla has already had a custom version in-house for years. But very good to see Jay succeeding, as he did wonders while at Tesla. Next up, GM now follows Ford's announcement with their own that they are going to be investing in, you guessed it, giant battery development in Detroit. GM says it's building a huge new EV battery lab in Michigan where scientists will work on chemistry to cut costs 60% over current vehicles and allow people to travel 500 to 600 miles. Well, that would be great, but you're gonna have to show me. Executives say the lab will be operational by mid to late next year. And it sounds like they're working on all types of different things. We're talking solid state batteries, different battery chemistries, lithium ion, larger battery cells, 4680s maybe. And GM said they should see benefits from the new facility by mid-decade. Honestly, in my opinion, GM is going to need to make some magic happen here, because their only EV offering, the Chevy Bolt, has had all kinds of issues. So they really need to get something going here in the EV space sooner rather than later. Next up, Tesla owners UK shared the Model 3 outsold every other car in the UK in September 2021 with 6,879 cars delivered. Great work to the team. Here is the chart with places 2 through 10 also listed. And if I remember correctly, I think the UK's battery electric vehicle sales for this year are around 15%, whereas last year they were at between 6 and 7%, so almost double the electric vehicle sales in the UK so far this year. Next up, a quick anecdote here. So we hear all the time about how bad Tesla service is, and yes, they're definitely not perfect. They've had all kinds of anecdotal evidence of poor customer support over the years, but don't think and don't get it twisted that they don't have some great service experiences as well. Limitless on Reddit shared his story. I'm not going to get into it now, but I have linked it below if you want to read a good Tesla service story, just as a reminder that, hey, it's not all bad. Next up, there have been some articles about Tesla short sellers and where have they gone. Well, I like to go to S3 Partners to get my short data, especially for Tesla. So this data in particular is from September 24th, but it's the most recent update about Tesla from S3 Partners that's not behind a paywall. So Tesla short interest is now $20 billion with 27 million shares floated, or about 3.38% of the short interest float. Now, if you're new, that might sound like a high number, but you need to know the context. Tesla short interest was pushing 30% around 2 to 3 years ago, and it has steadily declined from those highs, but now we are at the lowest that it's been in recent memory. But I think most of us still get a little warm and fuzzy feeling when we read things like shorts down 1.63 billion in 2021 mark-to-market losses. Not because I like to see other people losing, but when you bet against a company that is out to change the world for the good that I believe is very important, well, you get what you have coming for you. Next up today, we do have to touch on this topic. A jury ordered Tesla to pay $137 million to a former employee over racist treatment. Now, before we get into it, everybody relax. It's going to be okay. We're not going to get into the weeds here. I don't want anybody to get worked up one way or another, as I know there are many emotionally charged topics in this story, but I really just want to educate all of us more on the legal system than anything else. And if you want a quick summary of what really happened without much sensationalism, you can actually just read Tesla's blog. They put this out yesterday. This was written by Valerie Capers-Workman, who is the vice president of people at Tesla. And this right here is her LinkedIn profile, linked below if you're curious. Now, I have linked this blog post below, so I would encourage you to read it on your own time. It'll only take you a few minutes, but rather than me read it to you, I just want you to do that on your own. I would rather focus on, as I said, the legal aspect and what's next. But what I do want to highlight, because it will probably have future implications, is that we strongly believe that these facts don't justify the verdict. This, of course, coming from Tesla. And since this time, this happened back in 2015, 2016, by the way, Since then, Tesla has added an employee relations team dedicated to investigating employee complaints, as well as some other updates and corporate changes. But this case was actually only able to move forward because the worker had not signed one of Tesla's mandatory arbitration agreements. Tesla uses mandatory arbitration to compel employees to resolve disputes behind closed doors rather than in a public trial. So mandatory arbitration basically just means that you can't go to court. So if you sign these documents, whether you're about to be hired or you're a customer of a certain company, you have to resolve any disputes, like it says, behind closed doors or in private with a unbiased third party. Now, of course, a lot of people are saying, oh, Tesla forces their employees to do this mandatory arbitration because they have so much to hide. Well, no, that's not really true. If you look at the data and the facts, mandatory arbitration has risen from 2% in 1992 to the studies finding that now, since the early 2000s, the share of workers subject to mandatory arbitration has more than doubled and now exceeds 55%. So the assumption is that at present day, somewhere between 65 and 75% of employees are actually under these mandatory arbitration guidelines. So it's definitely not just Tesla. And I'm also focusing on this because October 7th, we have the shareholder meeting where there should be a vote on this actual topic. A shareholder activist group, Nia Impact Capital, is urging Tesla's board to study the effects of mandatory arbitration on their own employees and culture. Institutional Shareholder Services, or the ISS, rears its head again, this proxy advisory firm, recommending shareholders vote for Nia's proposal, noting that Tesla has faced many serious allegations of sexual and racial harassment and discrimination over the years. There was actually a $1 million case awarded through mandatory arbitration, and they also have a class action lawsuit still ongoing with regard to this racial situation. And this year, as it did last year, Tesla's board has advised shareholders to vote against reporting on the impacts of mandatory arbitration on employees. And this should go without saying, but just to be clear, I have zero tolerance for any level of harassment or racial injustice. I think there's absolutely no place for it. And guys, I also have to say, look, no matter the color of our skin or our background or our social class, we are all, as humans, way more alike than we are different. So please just remember that. And a lot of the complaints here are because of the $137 million amount for what basically amounted to some people saying the N-word, not toward this individual, but amongst themselves, not in a derogatory way, and some graffiti in the bathroom that was derogatory. But 130 million of those damages were punitive, basically meant to stop Tesla from allowing these things to happen. But if you actually read the blog post, Tesla did fire 3 people when they heard about what was taking place. So it's not like they didn't take any action, but like I said, go ahead and read it on your own. But last thing for today, if you want to check out that GigaPress video series, I have linked it below for your viewing pleasure. But that is all for today. Please take a second to like the video if you did. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.